You could just start whenever you want.
Okay. All right. 3, 2, 1. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another special playoff edition of Cream City Cast. We are CreamCityCentrals.com podcast discussing the Milwaukee Bucks. I'm joined, as always, with fellow Cream City Central contributor Dylan Piccolo. And our podcast is brought to you by our good friends over at Shepherd Express. Just wanted to give them a big shout out real fast. Dylan, a lot to talk about after that disappointing 87-92 loss in Game 5 yesterday.
Yeah, it was definitely a game where the opportunity was there to win. Opportunity for Bucks and Six to become a real thing, not just a catchy slogan that sounds good in the arena. But they had a lot of opportunities to win that game, despite being down 16 points at one point, and they really just failed to seal the deal when it came to getting over that 4-point deficit.
I mean, for me, what I feel like the biggest thing is there's no greater enemy to the Milwaukee Bucks than themselves. So many unforced errors and things just that could have been, God fucking damn it.
Andrew's dog's going crazy right now.
Oh, fuck, dude, I'm sorry. Can we just run that back real fast?
Yep.
All right. So should I just start on my cue?
Yeah, start whenever.
All right. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another playoff edition of Cream City Cast, CreamCityCentrals.com's weekly podcast. I'm Andrew Goodman, joined as always with fellow Cream City contributor Dylan Piccolo. Dylan, thank you for joining me.
How's it going, Andrew? Thanks for having me, as always. Very disappointing swing game, which we could have definitely sealed up.
Oh, yeah, Game 5, this was the tip of the iceberg, really, for either team. I feel like the winner of the game yesterday was going to go on to win this series. And the Bucks just look like a completely different team in Boston. I don't know what it is. They have a great home court there, but to me, the biggest thing is there is no greater enemy to the Milwaukee Bucks than themselves, really.
That is true, and they really shoot themselves in the foot after they do a lot of good things for themselves. I mean, getting down 16 in first place is just something that can't happen, and when you get down by that much, yes, you're going to go on a run at some point. Yes, you're going to bring that down, but the hard part is once you get it down, it's finishing the game because you expend so much energy trying to get it back to a decent enough where you can try to get back and win it. So they got it from 16 all the way down to 4, I believe, at some points. And they kept getting defensive stops in the fourth quarter, but they just couldn't make their shots on the offensive end. And that's what really just didn't allow them to get over the hump. And it's kind of simple and plain, just like that.
Yeah, you're right. It's like the Bucks all season and really for the last decade or so, it's been sort of this mantra of building you up just to break you down in the long run. This game was really, really ugly for all of us who unfortunately had to watch this. But, like you said, the Bucks dug themselves a big hole early, but then, they found the spark in Jabari Parker in the fourth quarter, and it looked like they were finally going to get over that hump. But what happens? They get it down to 4, and then Boston comes right back and goes on a quick, 4-0 run, and then it's back up to 8. So like you said, getting over the hump and just the inability to do so, you mix that in with the unforced errors and you're going to have a ton of disappointment like yesterday, unfortunately.
Yeah, and, Giannis had a really good game, kind of a Ben Simmons-like game with 16, 10, and 9. But at the end, I really would like to see him try to take over more. And a lot of the scenarios where they were in at the end of the game, they were in their ISO set, which really I don't really know how I feel about the ISO set after seeing it literally all of game 5 yesterday. But Giannis needs to take advantage of those matchups, and he needs to go by the guy right away. Kind of dribbling. I understand he uses it to kind of get past the guy, but just a simple one dribble past him. I feel like Giannis being, 6'10" and super long can get fouled at any point. And, I'd like to see Giannis kind of take over at that point. And I think kind of that's what his teammates were looking for him to do, but it turned into a lot of Chris Middleton shots, which I like, but may have been a little more difficult than we needed to take.
Yeah, you're right. I think all Bucks fans were kind of waiting for Giannis in the fourth quarter to just, take over and have another playoff moment. But, he had a good game, 16, 10, and 9, like you said. 9 assists is great. But he was just way too passive. And this was a game that you're going to need the Greek freak. He's going to need your guy, and he's going to need to score at least 30 in this sort of scenario. On the road, super tough environment where the officiating is already just god-awful. You're going to need him, dare I say, step up and really shoulder the load. Like you said, Chris Middleton, 23 points, less efficient, 9 of 21 from the floor. But to me, the huge killers here were Eric Bledsoe and Malcolm Brogdon.
Yeah, I mean, definitely Bledsoe had he had just some bonehead plays the whole game. When he drives and he initiates contact to hold on and try to finish at the rim, he hasn't been finishing at the rim. He's been taking and making really any jump shot he takes, it's literally a coin flip. I have no clue if it's going in or out because he can miss 11, but then he'll hit 2 in a row and then miss 10 in a row. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's super weird. And then Shabazz Muhammad gave you that 11, but you had in game 3 and game 4 a difference maker, and that was Thon Maker and Delhi. Those were 2 difference makers that swayed how those 2 games went just off of their sheer impact in points and in defensive things. Those players didn't give that impact. And Shabazz's 11 was nice, but with our poor shooting, we can't have that. We need to have that extra contributor off the bench.
Yeah, I thought Shabazz played pretty well, things considered. What was that, the third quarter run he went on that, pretty much got him back into the game. But I felt Joe Prunty kind of gave him too long of a leash. And, Shabazz, once he gets hot and percolating, he'll start to, get into this hero ball and drive to the basket, which didn't result into anything, and it was just bad. But like you said, Thon Maker and Delhi, either one of them, Brogdon too, they have a decent game. I'm not talking about good game. They have a decent game. This is a game that the Bucks win.
Yep.
And just touching on Eric Bledsoe, the player he was about 2 months ago and the player he is now is just completely different player. He looks completely disinterested. There were many times that the camera would pan to the Bucks bench and he was just sitting at the complete opposite end of the bench, with a towel on his head. He just looks totally out of sync. And, I'd be pretty mad too if I was getting outplayed by some dude named Terry Rozier.
Anytime he gets shook, Eric Bledsoe does not run out and defend the shot. A simple hand. He did it again yesterday, and I've never been so frustrated. And I was at the Bucks watch party, and people were visibly frustrated with him there because that is just a don't care attitude, and that is not what you need in Boston against the number 1 defensive team in the NBA because they shut them down. The Bucks aren't going to lose many games when they give up 92 points. They're not. The Bucks are a good enough team where if they do that, they can score that much. But when they shoot 27% from 3 and only 36 from the field, you're not going to win. We even won the turnover battle, 17-11. So, you just got to make shots. That's what it comes down to. In the biggest moments, in the biggest games, to get to that next level, you're going to have to clutch up and make some shots against good teams. And, we can say all we want about field goal percentage and stuff, but when you need to score and get a bucket, who's going to get a bucket? Who are you confident with in game 5 to go get a bucket?
Right. I just want to touch on Eric Bledsoe one more time. A thing that I notice a lot this series is, he'll make a shot and then, he'll talk trash, to the Boston bench, or he was talking to the crowd yesterday throwing up, those threes. It's like, you're really not in a position to do this. And another thing that's been really bugging me is Tony Snell. He's just been god awful. His defense is whatever, but when you're shooting 0 of 5 from 3 and providing nothing offensively, there's just no need for you to play.
Nope.
Especially with a team that already struggles with a lot of spacing, and every 3-pointer he missed yesterday was wide open and in rhythm too.
For sure. I mean, I can give Shabazz those minutes. I can give Thon those minutes. I can give Brogdon. Brogdon only played 18 minutes. You know what I mean? Like, there's minutes to be had because Tony Snell's 12 and a half. I don't know if I can roll 12 and a half minutes, giving me 0 points from the floor and playing better than average defense.
Yeah. And
in the playoffs, like, you can't do that.
For me, the biggest takeaway from this series is the fact that Marcus Smart came back and he didn't really have that great of a shooting performance. He's got that big wrap on his hand, 2 of 7 from the floor, 9 points. But the tenacity he brings to the defensive end is insane. I saw a Twitter video, forgot who sent it out, of him communicating on defense and then him disrupting that Delhi to Giannis alley-oop. So just the fact that you have that, Boston will have that voice on the defensive end, and Marcus Smart's a pit bull. He'll get after you. So I really think that's a turning point in this series.
It's an it factor that the Bucks lack, and it's an unquantifiable, you can't measure it, but it's just there. Like, you watch the 76ers play, it's there. That's an it factor. And the Bucks are struggling with their it factor right now. What makes them tick? They went into Boston and they looked like deer in headlights. And I'm sorry to say, but I expect better. And I understand this is not our head coach of the future. And, this necessarily isn't the team that's going to take us to the top, because there's holes in shooters, there's holes in big men, and there's holes at the point guard position, and those need to be addressed before we can make a serious run. But this right now is a good time to get a playoff series and show it's, the league and everyone and the fans saying, hey, we want to be this good. And I just don't see that.
Yeah, it's that killer instinct that the Bucks are lacking. And, Joe Prunty, like you said, he's not going to be here at the end of the season. Well, at least with the Bucks, you never know. So we can't really count that out. But, you have so much talent. You have Chris Middleton, Eric Bledsoe, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Malcolm Brogdon, and you have a motivated Thon Maker. I expect a little more tenacity or a little more, fight. I saw a lot of tweets saying that the Bucks fought hard. No, they didn't. They didn't really fight at all. This game was in double digits for a lot of the time, and the Bucks, they only really came back with 6 minutes left. So, that effort would have been nice from the opening tip.
It would have been. Shoulda, woulda, coulda, right?
In hindsight, you can change a lot, but this is why the Bucks are the Bucks, really.
Yeah. That's why you're the 7th seed. That was a great – these last 3 games are a great, synopsis of how this season has went. Because you get excited, you win a couple games, then they rip your heart right out of you, and they just don't care. I mean, hey – I think they're going to win in 6, and whatever's going to happen in Game 7, that's going to, I can't tell you that, but they better bring it. They better play a lot better, because Boston's crowd's going to be into it, and Brad Stevens is going to have them coached up right. And you know what? I noticed that Boston net didn't necessarily send that many people for offensive rebounds, and they're having everyone get back, because if the Bucks aren't shooting well, and you don't crash the glass, you can literally shut them down. And I think Brad Stevens kind of realized that. So that's going to be an adjustment that Prunty's gonna and the coaching staff is gonna have to make.
Yeah, absolutely. I noticed that as well. And the Bucks actually forced a decent amount of turnovers. They forced 17, but they couldn't really get anything out of those turnovers because Boston, by the time they turned the ball over, they'd already have 3 to 4 people back on defense. So no, got to give credit where credit is due. But like you said, adjustments. Joe Prunty, do they go together? Probably not.
No, it's like having Nick Saban coaching against you. You just have no chance.
Yeah, it's not a good look to lose to a Boston team that's down their 2 best players. I know Al Horford's great, but if you can't beat a team that's led by Al Horford, Terry Rozier, Gershon Yabusele, and Marcus Morris, you're in a lot of trouble. Joe Prunty, interim head coach, but you got the 2nd best player in the Eastern Conference. And you have Chris Middleton, who's been playing just out of his mind in the postseason. So, yeah. Like I said earlier, building you up to break you down. So what else is new here?
Yep. You can actually just listen to all these one podcast, and you can kind of get the gist of how the season's went.
Like just on infinite loop of sadness, disappointment. They'll mix it in with like a few good games, and then it's back over.
Yeah, for sure. I guess that's it. Are we good? Yeah. We're good for the Cream City Cast, episode 23, the recap 5 between the Celtics and the Bucks. We have the preview show coming out tomorrow, so we'll have that for the game 6. Bucks will not win in 6, but the game 6. You can reach us at our socials at Andrew Goodman at Andrew_Goodman.
Put some respect on the name, my man.
Yeah, dude. My bad. I wish we could do subtitles, but it's a podcast, so
wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, but catch me at Dylan Piccolo 35. Catch all of our stuff at Cream City Central, and check out our podcast tomorrow and this one. So thank you. Go Bucks.